Overthinking is not a disease. It is simply the natural result of a mind that is always trying to control, solve, compare, and calculate. It comes from fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of missing out, fear of being judged, fear of not being enough. When the mind doesn't know what will happen, it starts playing imaginary movies. It starts asking questions like, what if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if this goes wrong? The problem is not that thoughts come. The problem is that we believe every thought is true and necessary. Overthinking is the habit of chasing thoughts without seeing where they come from or where they lead. And this habit gets stronger when we never stop to watch it. The more we try to fix things in the future using thoughts, the more we get trapped in a loop. Just like a man standing in quicksand, the more he moves to escape, the faster he sinks. So the first step is to stop trying to escape overthinking through more thinking. You can't stop overthinking by thinking better thoughts. You stop it by becoming aware of the process itself. For example, imagine you have a job interview tomorrow. You've prepared well, yet your mind keeps imagining failure. You feel anxious. You rehearse conversations in your head 100 times. You lie in bed at night, unable to sleep. This is not because of the interview. It's because the mind wants certainty in something that is naturally uncertain. Now here's a turning point. Instead of trying to stop those thoughts or replace them with positive ones, simply watch the thoughts like clouds in the sky. Don't interfere. Don't push. Don't judge. The moment you just observe without identification, without resistance, the energy of thought weakens. Thought is like fire. It needs fuel, and the fuel is your attention, your belief. Once you remove your personal involvement, the fire burns out on its own. But many people don't do this. They fight their thoughts or try to escape into distractions, scrolling social media, binge-watching shows, talking unnecessarily, overeating, or trying to keep themselves busy all the time. All this is fear disguised as activity. You cannot escape your thoughts by running away. You can only go beyond them by facing them fully, not with resistance, but with clarity. One cause of overthinking is the deep psychological need to be someone special, someone successful. From childhood, we are taught that we must become something: rich, popular, powerful, wise. This creates a constant background anxiety that who we are now is not enough. So we think and think and think to become better. We compare ourselves with others. We look at other people's lives on social media and feel behind. This constant mental race creates overthinking. Imagine a student who has just passed school and now must choose a career. His family says choose engineering. Society says choose something safe. His heart says become a writer. His mind becomes a battlefield. The boy can't sleep. He fears regret. He fears judgment. But if he really understood that life is not a fixed path, that no choice is final, that real peace is not in making the right decision, but in being fully present with whatever choice he makes, the overthinking would stop. When the mind sees clearly that there is no perfect life out there, only different experiences to live and learn from, the burden falls. Clarity ends confusion, not control. But people are addicted to control, so they suffer. They try to manage outcomes in their heads. They think, if I plan it all out in advance, I'll be safe. But life doesn't follow mental maps. Life is spontaneous, flowing. The mind is like a map, but life is like a river. And the more you try to trap a river in a map, the more frustrated you become. Another deep cause of overthinking is unresolved emotion. Past wounds, guilt, shame, rejections. These emotional residues stay stuck in the body and appear in the mind as repeating thoughts. For example, if a woman was betrayed in a relationship years ago, she may constantly think, can I trust people? What if it happens again? Why did he do that? She may think she's thinking logically, but actually, her mind is just trying to protect her from future pain. Thought becomes a wall, a shield. But the wall also becomes a prison. True healing comes not from more analysis, but from feeling the wound directly without running. letting the sadness come up, without blaming or trying to fix. It sounds simple but requires courage, because facing pain feels risky. We are afraid if we feel it, we'll collapse. But the truth is, when you allow a feeling fully, without labels, it starts to melt. Then, the overthinking connected to it also disappears. Emotional healing is not mental, it is energetic. But if you keep feeding the mind with stories, explanations, and predictions, you never reach that deep silence where healing can happen. One powerful way to calm the mind is to bring full attention to the present moment, not as a technique, but as a natural awareness. For example, while washing dishes, just wash. Feel the water, the plate, the sound, the temperature. When walking, just walk. Feel the steps, the breeze, the movement. When eating, just eat. Taste, smell, chew slowly. These simple acts, when done with total awareness, bring the mind into silence. Not forced silence, but natural silence, because the mind cannot think and be fully aware at the same time. Thought only survives in the past or future. Awareness lives in the now. This shift is not dramatic, but deeply peaceful. A person who lives like this may still think, but the thoughts come like visitors, not owners. They pass, not stay. This is the essence of a still mind, not an empty mind, but a mind that is not entangled. Many people say they want peace, but they chase it through success, relationships, travel, money. They say, once I have this or that, I'll be calm. But the truth is, anything you get from outside will eventually become another source of thought and anxiety. Even when people achieve their dreams, they start thinking, what next? What if I lose it? Am I truly happy? Peace is not in gaining. It is in dropping. Dropping the unnecessary. Dropping the false. Dropping the constant desire to fix, change, become, improve. Not that we shouldn't grow, but growth must happen naturally, not forcefully. A seed grows not by overthinking, but by being in the right soil. Similarly, the mind becomes clear when we stop interfering with it all the time. Look at children playing. They are fully present, fully alive, without constantly thinking, am I doing it right? What do people think? What if I fail? That purity is still in us. We just covered it with years of mental noise. The process of calming the mind is more about unlearning than learning, not adding more knowledge, but removing false ideas. For example, many people overthink about relationships. Does he love me? Am I good enough? Why doesn't she reply? All this thinking arises from one deep misunderstanding, that love is something we must earn or hold on to. When we see that true love is not attachment, not fear, not demand, but presence and understanding, we stop chasing people in our heads. We stop needing validation to feel worthy. And then the mind becomes peaceful, because the hunger ends. The mind becomes loud when it is hungry, for respect, attention, security. But when we see that no thought can give us real security, real joy, we drop the chase. This dropping is freedom. Even during tough times, job loss, breakups, health issues, the mind can remain still if it stops fighting. Most suffering is not in the situation, but in our resistance. A man loses his job and his mind starts spinning. I'm a failure. What will I tell others? How will I survive? These are not facts. They are fearful projections. If he just stays with the simple fact, I've lost my job, and gives full presence to that reality, without stories, without panic, he will find surprising peace and energy. From that silence, true intelligence arises. Real solutions come not from panic, but from presence. But the ego hates presence. It feeds on past and future. So, to calm the mind is also to weaken the ego. And that's why it feels scary. The ego says, if you stop thinking, you'll lose control. But the truth is, when you stop overthinking, you gain real clarity. This understanding is not theoretical. It must be lived. One can sit quietly every day, even for 10 minutes, and just observe. Not meditate with effort or control. Just watch the breath, watch the thoughts, without any purpose. Slowly, the mind learns a new way of being. Like a wild horse that settles down when not provoked. The mind is not the enemy. Misunderstanding is. Once we see thought as just a tool, not our identity, we stop worshiping it. Then, overthinking dissolves like mist in the morning sun. Life becomes simpler, deeper, not always easy, but real. And in that realness, there is peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because we are no longer lost in thought.